Hey everyone, this is Organic Serendipity, episode 3. We're here as usual at GIMIC in the center of Brussels for an hour of a nice chat, talking about what's happening in electronic music and around. This episode is called Basic Gender Inclusion. We're here with Catalina and Selmz. So basically I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we picked this. Basically, like basic gender inclusion, we wanted to deep dive into female and non-male artist struggles, fears and triumphs in the bass scene in general. While electronic music has long been a space of experimentation and defiance, its industry still fails to provide an equal platform for all artists. From exclusionary lineups to the stagnation of work environments that limit female voices, will break down the structural barriers that keep the scene from truly evolving. But how do we reclaim space? How do we amplify the voices that have been sidelined? We're gonna check this out with Selmz and Catalina today. But first of all, I wanted to explain what's the track that we selected today to open. This track is called Signature. It's from Chemistry and Storm. And basically the story of Chemistry and Storm is one of resilience, passion and breaking barriers in a male-dominated scene. They are pioneers of drum and bass. They shaped the sound and paved the way for future generations of female DJs. And for the anecdote, they started in a pirate radio, and then they ended up co-founding Metalheads and being the ones who taught drum and bass to Goldie. But the problem is that decades later, we haven't moved on and we haven't really made the scene more inclusive for everyone. So today we're going to talk about this with Catalina and Selmz. But for those who don't know them, I will let them introduce themselves first.
Hello, I'm Catalina. I'm a DJ and I've been DJing for about 8 years and I'm based in Brussels. My relationship with bass music is that I started DJing when I was living in London, and I'm really inspired by UK music, and that covers, just like bass music, it covers a lot of genres. And yeah, I'm a woman just living in the man's world of DJing, so I think I have some insights.
Thank you, Catalina.
I'm sure you do. Hi, everyone. I'm Selmz, but my name is Leah, and I've been DJing for almost 2 years now, so I consider myself quite new to the scene still. So I basically learned to DJ when I was volunteering at Kiosk Radio. So it arrived quite abruptly and very quickly. It's a quite intense ride, just like my passion for bass music in general. I've been around the scene since my 16th, I think. I started clubbing and raving around that age. And always have been a fan of dubstep mostly, and also drum and bass. Always will. So that's how I started and still going with it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now you know a little bit more who's going to talk today. One of the reasons why we do this podcast is to try to link societal issues with issues that are also within the electronic music sphere. Some people know a bit more about the social issues, some people know a bit more about the music. So let's start with something maybe a bit basic, since we're going to talk about bass. But can you define, for those who have heard this quite umbrella term of bass, for them, what is bass music in general and what does it mean for you as well?
Yeah, indeed, bass music, it's quite large. It's a big umbrella, very chaotic umbrella with a lot of holes everywhere. But yeah, I think bass music, its whole core could welcome genres such as dubstep, drum and bass, UK garage. It's quite wide because, you know, there is bass in every genre. I think it's a prerequisite. Yeah, for me, when I heard about bass music, it's about dubstep, it's about intensity, low frequencies. So yeah, I've been around this genre for years now, and this is how I will define it. But yeah, you can also see that the bass is quite large because there's also deconstructed bass, club music. So it's really broad, and I think everyone, included Catalina's, we are own personal opinion on it and also feeling. For me, it's very intense, very gritty, quite weird as well, kind of bizarre.
Nice keywords.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bizarre kind of things. Exactly.
What about you, Catalina?
Well, I have another keyword. I think bass music is very left field in terms of the wider musical space. Of course, it's again based in heavy bass, heavy low end, but it covers so many genres, and I think there's always an experimental edge to it because of the technical side. It's difficult to make such heavy music with low end sounds, and you have to kind of work around the limitations that you have in order to actually make something sound good. And I was actually looking up what genres fit under bass music, and it's basically
big,
it's huge. I mean, bass music is so wide and covers things from, as you said, dubstep and drum and bass, but also UK garage, and also even I think there's elements of bass.
Even house.
Even house.
Yeah, even house. And I think bass music, it's kind of not even a genre anymore. It's just style.
Yeah, the generic thing that that englobes what the sensation is going to be in the music in general. So for you, if you didn't know about this big general term, you have loads of styles and genres to listen to. But let's focus a little bit more on your personal experiences within the scene. As an artist, what was your first experience in the bass scene in general? How you started or how it made you feel for the first time?
Yeah, so I used to be a house and disco DJ when I first started because that was the era. And I remember the first time I heard an electro song, which is not really bass, but I just remember hearing syncopated rhythms and then realizing that music can have this experimental edge and it can be weird and it can be interesting. And that made me do more research. And of course, my personal hero, Ben UFO, seeing him DJ and just the kind of music he was playing was music that I couldn't even really find online, or it wasn't music my friends were listening to, but it was so exciting and new, and everything has its own element. And that's why I like bass music, and that's why I like experimental music, because you never know what's the link between the two songs. There's no really any recipe. Yeah.
In general, yeah. And for you, yeah, and for you, Selmz, the first experience with bass music and also playing it, I imagine, like.
Well, as a person, when I discovered bass music, I would call it dubstep at that time. I think I was around 12. Yeah, I stick to that genre, never left. Yeah, I think I was browsing YouTube, sort of stuff. I was discovering internet like everyone at my age. And yeah, I just never left. And then I had my first clubbing experiences around 16. I think it was the time that bass music was very popular in France. But it's more or less bro step nowadays. So it wasn't really qualitative. Back in the days, I was in love with it. But now I'm like, yeah, no, I think I evolved, and that's for the best.
It's true that the term dubstep has been also evolving in terms of the perception of the people and the ones who are doing it as well.
And this is also one of my fights every day, because every time I'm telling people that I'm into dubstep, they think about Skrillex. Nothing else. And I'm like, yeah, it has been very important for the genres, but it's not the only one.
Nothing wrong with Skrillex.
No, we love you.
If you're listening to us, we love you as well. You've been doing crazy stuff before and now as well.
Don't be mad. We love you.
We're gonna play a couple of songs after. Don't worry, it's not only about chatting here, but since we're experiencing that the field is evolving day after day, and it's good for people to understand also the struggles, the positive sides as well. But sometimes the struggles are difficult to overcome when you're a newcomer in the scene. Would you since now we're going to talk about inclusion, what are the biggest fears in general for female artists and non-male artists when they are entering the scene? We had briefly a conversation about it before, so maybe let's evolve around this.
Yeah, and I kind of relate because I'm still a newcomer. It's been 2 years around. I don't play that much because of that. Actually, I think as a non-male person, we kind of experience sort of imposter syndrome. I think we also suffer with mental exhaustion, quite in a more intense way. So yeah, I think it can be applied to every beginner. Have the fear of the stage, fear of being judged, and that's funny because my friends always tell me, you have to think like a white male, you know? And I'm like, but I don't want to think about it. I don't know how is it? Yeah, I'm not like this, but at the same time, I'm not sure this part of the population has raised the same question as we do on a daily basis. So yeah, I think as a newcomer, you will experience this kind of fear of not belonging, because this is how the system made us to think about, which is very sad. So yeah.
So imposter syndrome is something that might hit you quite hard. Is it also a fear that you had when you started DJing, Catalina?
Honestly, I feel like I didn't have imposter syndrome until I felt like there was more pressure on me. So at the beginning, I actually felt quite confident in myself. And then when you reach these hurdles or you reach obstacles, then it kind of makes you lose this childlike innocence that you have, and it makes you feel a bit jaded.
The pressure coming up, building up, because people have expectations when they see your name.
Or not even pressure, but when you go somewhere and you have a bad time or someone treats you a bit bad, then you're like, am I this way? Or did I act nice? Or did I do a bad job? And then I started getting more and more imposter syndrome, because at the beginning, when I was just DJing to me and my friends for fun, it was like the best time ever. And I want to just add on to your point of mental exhaustion that women and gender minorities and people of racial minorities, like all of us are kind of stuck in this created system that if you have a chance, then it feels like the biggest chance in the world. So you also kind of have to act as a representative for your community. So of course that puts more pressure. Yeah.
It builds up, and then it combined to the imposter syndrome. All of a sudden, like, you have lots of pressure because yourself, you don't know what you're doing here, and at the same time, people are putting pressure on you because they want you to succeed because of who you are.
Of course, and I think that's kind, but also they tell you in the same time, have fun, and I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of, key takeaways that you have to think, and okay, I represented my gender today, also my style, but at the same time, I just want to have fun and no pressure on me.
No, I feel that. I feel that. I feel that in many different fields it has been like this as well. That's why it's important today also to talk about this for people who are experiencing this for the first time, or are at the beginning of their career, in the middle of their career, that are fearing that there's a bit of pressure. Everyone has been having it, and so far we're here as well to talk about it. So it's something that we have to overcome. But I feel that in a city and in a country like Belgium, where this scene is booming a lot, like I feel that bass music, for instance, like it has always been here. As you said before, it was bigger, then it stopped a little bit more with like more techno, more stuff like that. But now it's back. How do you feel that the scene is evolving nowadays, and well, in general, but also in terms of like giving enough space to everyone to exist?
Well, from my point of view, I noticed that more and more people are playing bass music. I'm super happy with it, to be honest, because I think the whole umbrella was a bit of an outsider before, or an underdog. So I think that now people finally realize it's an amazing genre. So
it fits everywhere.
It fits everywhere, and that's the thing. It fits everywhere. I see more and more artists, regardless of the gender, playing it, which is nice because we have. In Brussels, we have a range of female artists, non-male artists, which is really nice, and also from different minorities. But I'm also afraid about this kind of gentrification of the genre. We had briefly talked about it before. So I want to still ensure to myself that I'm playing it for the right reason and not to just fit in.
Okay.
Because it's fitting, but don't fit it just to fit it and say, yeah, okay, I'm also playing bass music. So yeah, that's how I feel it.
And you, Catalina, if we maybe we can talk about Brussels, but we can also talk about Belgium in general. Like there's different scenes for those who are listening and are not necessarily in the country. We have Brussels, we have Ghent, we have Antwerp. They all have very different identities. So maybe they also have different dynamics in the way of including everyone. Do you have maybe a feedback to give or an opinion on that?
Yes.
Yes, that's why you're here.
Full stop. So I think that Brussels is amongst the best. I think that Brussels is a melting pot, and I actually do think that the music scene slowly is matching the societal, composition. And I see a lot of new people and on kiosk and on this show, on GIMIC. They give opportunities to people who are new and who are starting. That's quite important to champion people without this pressure that we were talking about. Because if your first gig ever is in front of 5,000 people, it's not exactly going to be easy. Yes. But other places in in Belgium, I would say that there is less of a focus on bass music. I would say bass is definitely more of a Brussels-Leuven thing. And if we look at places like Antwerp, there's a lot of money there, and it's not always the most genuine. I mean,
not the most progressive city as well.
No, and I think bass music at its core was always kind of an independent genre, and small parties and small labels, and that's what makes it so broad, because people just branched off and did their own thing. So I think it's also hard to really commercialize bass music to the point where it still is bass music. Do you have something to add on that? No?
No, it's a super important point. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's also good to compare both the dynamics of one city and another, but also understand that it is also engraved within a broader spectrum of things that are important, societal, economic, in terms of taste as well, in terms of diversity. You have had different careers, but you have for sure had very important moments in them. Can you share maybe for us a moment when you felt empowered as an artist, or even a moment where you felt invisible? Maybe share one of the two, or the two, don't hesitate.
I think one of the moments where I felt empowered is something that we both share, because we both had a lot of support from people in the scene, and actually white men in the scene, and they really didn't have to do that. The guys from Eclipse Tribes, shout out. They never had to help us. They never had to give us a chance, but they really believed in us, and it goes to show that music kind of, it's not a competition at the end of the day, and look at us now. And I'm gonna think about my bad story, if that's okay. Yeah.
Do you have a good moment also where you felt empowered, Selmz?
That was actually the same thing. I think it's really nice to be recognized by, for example, Eclipse Tribe, which is a label I always loved and I discovered here. And also thanks to them that I met Catalina, actually. So it's really empowering. And I will also say about this interview, for example, I think it's very flattering to have the chance to give our voice and also our advice. But yeah, in terms of bad stories, I can be lucky to say that I don't have any for now, and hopefully I won't.
Touching all the wood that exists
here
around.
Yeah. So okay. So far so good, I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think for me, I've also had a few bad stories. One thing that I don't like is when people have a lot of requirements for when you have to play a certain type of music, you have to do a certain thing, and they come with this list of things. And this has happened to me before, and I think that I play more experimental stuff, and sometimes I think sometimes I'm not as experimental as some other people in bass music, but then I'm more experimental than people who play, like, let's say, more commercial music. And so sometimes it just feels a bit like, okay, play this and you have to do this and you're going to play before these people who play something completely different. And I don't like that. Like, just don't book me.
Yeah.
Why do I have to go through this experience?
They want you to be someone that
Yeah.
you're not necessarily.
Why? Just, I really don't care. Like,
Okay.
book someone else.
Listen to these bookers if you ever listening to this. Like, book the right
Don't
people at
book
the right
me.
time.
.. If you have something in mind that you think I'm gonna play, because that's not gonna happen. But yeah.
Well, to be a bit less about these things that are not going very well, maybe we can talk about and share knowledge about people, movements, books, or albums that have inspired you and that you want maybe to share and to amplify. Do you have a special piece or a special artist that you just want to give a shout out now that in this theme is quite inspiring and that people should know a little bit more about?
Well, I recently listened to Eva 808, which is my absolute goddess for years now. She does a lot of grime instrumentals. It's very cold. I would call it very, very cold. Not as the UK slang to say it, it's a nice music, but really a cold atmosphere.
Okay.
This is exactly what I like. And yeah, she's amazing. She's been around for years now. And I think I can't wait for her to sort other things because she's really good.
And to play in Brussels.
Oh, hopefully. Honestly, if I was a booker, voila. Just a
Okay.
small request.
Cool. Listen that out.
Yeah, I just want to say back to your first question about what bass music is. It's funny you say cold because I feel like I'm in the warm end of bass music. So this just shows the diversity in how bass music can be enjoyed and what kind of areas you veer towards. And in terms of artists or collectives I find inspiring, I think it would be very difficult to not mention Femme Bass Mafia. And they're a collective based in Berlin and from Berlin. And I think they have over 50 members. It's a huge collective now. You know, they do workshops, they go to festivals, they take their parties internationally. And I think having this support system and a growing support system means that, you know, it can empower so many new people, even people who are not part of it. You know, I am just an observer, but just
not even in Berlin or anything.
No.
Like just knowing that it exists.
yeah, it's so nice to know that someone out there, you know, is championing this music and doing it in such a caring way and supportive way. It's quite inspiring.
That's so exciting to hear about all this. You wanted to add something?
No, I just wanted to add something that I actually attend a debate organized by Femme Bass Mafia.
Okay.
And it was very interesting because the main takeaway of that was to really emphasize on unity. We have the chance. I mean, it's not a chance. It's a chance and a curse at the same time. But we have this chance to be from minorities and we have to empower ourselves. And I think it's the best way to overcome it.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much for these recommendations. Also for everyone to go and dig about what Selmz and Catalina just shared. And they don't only share stuff like this in the mic, but they also came with a couple of tracks for you that illustrate well who they are, what is their taste. So I'm gonna play the first track that was from Selmz, I imagine, Iconica. Praxis? Yeah, so it's from the label Hyperdub. It was released in 2014, and we're gonna listen to this and understand why Selmz picked it just. was a very, very good song. We vibed a lot. I don't know if you could see it. We were also chatting a little bit on top of it. But so why did you pick this track called Praxis from Iconica, Selmz?
Because it's so melancholic. I'm not a melancholic person, but sometimes I do experience kind of remise en question, and I think it's the perfect track for it. I can see myself like looking at some skylines, with a very urban view and just thinking about things, and I think this track embodies perfectly what I think. And honestly, if I ever will be a producer, I don't know what's coming, but I would prepare. Yeah, honestly, every elements are there, and also it reminds me of this trappy era that we were in from like 2010 until
it was really good.
15.
Like
yeah,
the
it was
instrumentals,
amazing.
The tracks were good. The instrumentals were good. Like
everything was so
to both.
perfect, and I'm a very nostalgic person, and I think this track has a quite sad wave in it, but also very beautiful
And a bit cold, as you were
very
mentioning
cold.
as well.
It's
You
very
you
cold.
see the colors a bit going
It's
to
very
blue,
cold.
going
Yeah,
to
for me it's a winter track.
exactly.
It's a winter track, and Iconica is great. Around for ages here. She's doing everything. It's great.
Check it out
great.
as well. Iconica, it was Praxis. So yeah, we were talking about the fact that there was also gentrification in electronic music, and it's a bit weird because like it prides itself to be underground, to be radical, to be inclusive. But gentrification is not at all the synonyms of this kind of words, So is electronic music still inclusive? Does it still give gender representation in general? And if this gentrification is around, it's probably that it's not the case.
Well, it means that we reach a point that they want to take it from us, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think you can also link gentrification with popularity, and I can see more and more people taking it over, which is nice because we are recognized. I mean, the whole genre is recognized finally, but I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I hate being a gatekeeper, and I don't want to go in that way. But it's true that sometimes I don't really get the purpose of people playing it. Is it because it's really nice and we have to incorporate it at some point, or if it's because it's à la mode, is it trendy? So sometimes I'm a bit, it makes me a bit skeptic, but...
yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
do you
skeptical.
share this focus as well, this feedback from Selmz about how it's becoming?
Yes, and as someone who plays UK garage specifically, which falls under the bass genre, I hate the commercialization of UK garage. And I hate that playing edits and playing bootlegs is now seen as like, oh, you're like a pop DJ, a radio DJ. When, people used to make vinyl dubs of edits and it was literally part of like the R&B culture to have a garage edit and, Sunship. Sorry, I got too excited. Sunship. But I do want to say that I think eventually it's all kind of cyclical. So if things do get gentrified, it does leave room in the, independent space, in the starting space. And maybe that's also space for people to start new things and new ideas. And, I personally don't think I'm going to be around forever. And if someone takes the genres that I play and goes with it, that's maybe the passing on the baton. And then someone will have a resurgence in a few years or, yeah.
Yeah, and in general, like the mainstreamification, whatever it is, always leads to a comeback to something more essential, to more underground stuff. So cyclical as usual, but it's true. You need to understand the codes. You need to respect also who made this music, the history of this music, and that's a little bit the trap, to opening the door a bit too much that at the end not everyone will benefit from it.
Yeah, and also the underground term, it's not a concept. it's literally a revolution, it's literally a movement, and it has to stay that way. I'm not even from the underground community in the first place. I grew up in France, so in terms of bass music, we don't have the codes that the UK has. So you kind of have to find your own way in there. So I've been in the mainstream parts for a long time, loved it, and then hated it. So I kind of found my tribe there. But yeah, it doesn't have to become a sort of, yeah, it's a whole concept now. It's like you're going to a thrift shop and now it's trendy because everyone uses them. So, voilà.
When like something that I feel that's quite like it's very annoying is that many lineups are still only males, like male dominated or only males. Why do you think that bookers or festivals are doing this? Honestly, like it's not based, but I had a DM last week about someone who said like, I know you're an underground you're a journalist, blah blah blah, but a festival like Les Ardentes, for example, they released their lineup. There's one woman, you know, on the full festival, you know, and you're like, yo, it's a bit crazy. But to go back maybe to electronic music and to well, in general lineups, why do bookers do that, you know?
I think people do that because they genuinely have no clue. And I feel like when you promote or when you organize parties, you have the intention and your target audience is yourself. And if everyone in your circle is a white man, of course, that's what you might want to see. And it doesn't even cross your mind that other people exist. You know, you want to put your friends on there. And, you know, if I had a party, would I book my friends? Yes. Are my friends women and non-binary people? Yes, because those are the people that I surround myself with. But I also think that in 2024, you don't have this excuse anymore. And, you know, of course, it's easy to say, well, I grew up in a very white society, so, or with men, so, okay, I don't know women, I don't know other DJs, but you have the internet and you also have the social responsibility. Like, you're not DJing to you and 3 guys in the basement. You are essentially doing a promotion, you know? You
you're
are
playing the tracks of someone else.
Absolutely.
You're playing the history of one music.
Yeah.
And just to comment on that as well, and maybe Selmz, you can talk about it as well, but like on Instagram, I saw a booker actually who posted on the International Women's Rights Day. She posted like a long thread saying, it's been 5 years that I'm in the scene. I'm a booker. I have shown my talent, but she was tired that all the time when there was new clients, they will always send emails to the male people. When they were, when she was like talking to people in a venue, whenever they were talking about more technical information, they were always assuming that she wouldn't know about this technical information. Is it what we call a boys' club?
So I saw the exact post, and I actually do want to shout out this person. Do we say their name? Alix from Horst. I think she does an amazing job, and when I did play there, I felt very supported. I felt good energy. There's a reason the Horst backstage is the best, because there's snacks, there's good healthy food, there's a vibe, it's cozy. Like, she knows what people need, and you know, if to hear that people don't give her the credit when you've had this personal experience with someone and you've had such a good experience compared to other experiences where people do not give a shit if you live or die as long as you are in front of the decks at 2 a.m. Yeah. So I just think that it's hard to hear that people don't get the recognition when that work they do
is amazing. What do you think about this boys' club mentality at the end of Selmz as well?
Just to jump back on what she said, I feel like we always have to double prove ourselves for everything. Like, we know how to do our jobs. We don't need extra validation. We just need you to be polite and say thank you whenever it's needed. We are doing our jobs. It can be technical. It can be everywhere, mostly. So I think it's really sad that she experienced that. And I think there's this boys club mentality around. I'm not saying it will itch me for days, but I can sense it. I've recently been approached to be booked somewhere, and then I realized I wasn't anymore, and I saw the lineup, and it was 100% male. So I was like, is it because of the fee? Is it because of something else? Because I've been approached, so I think they thought about
They know about you. They
me
know about what
or
you're
about
doing and everything.
inclusivity, but I think they're just prefer to think about the budget or to invite their friends. But you also need to take a step, to take a stand, and saying that, yeah, choosing also your lineup is kind of political today. You have to make the right choices. If you want to attract a certain community, your lineup has to be the same. That's how I see it.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much for this. Honestly,
You're
if people
welcome.
can hear it a little bit more, it will help things up.
Yeah, I do have one other thing to say. I also think that the issue with women entering these spaces nowadays is that there isn't really any room for questions. If you come in and you say, oh, can you show me how to set up the mixer? Or, there are things I don't know how to do. I'm not a technical engineer. And I do want to learn, and I'm interested, and it sometimes can come off as, oh, I have no idea, or why are you asking, or like, but we need to encourage people to learn and not treat them as though, oh, you didn't know this already. Then, yeah.
Yeah, respect everyone in the scene and respect everyone's path and also support each other. I mean, like no one exists with like the global knowledge of everything, and even though like you would, like just be modest and give enough space to everyone to be there and without canceling or without even like not considering people because they might not know, they might not do that. Do you think that this kind of dynamics exist are mainly inherent in electronic music or music in general, or is it something that at the end is just societal, like in contemporary dance, in cinema, in other fields? Do you feel that the problem is just bigger and in the whole society it should be worked on and reflected and changed?
Yes. So I work in science, and I feel like this issue of not giving people a chance is so prevalent because nobody, as you rightfully said, nobody is born knowing how to do these things. And I think there's a lot of ego involved. I mean, it took me 30 years to learn how to build a mixer, so I know how to do it. You don't know how to do it, I win. But actually, if you exchange that knowledge and teach someone else, I think you will gain more in terms of like personal confidence, but also in the way people see you. Like, if you teach someone something, maybe they will gain more respect for you than if you're just like, well, I know how to do it.
And it's good to transmit, to give to someone else. Like someone taught you, so why wouldn't you just share the knowledge as well?
But again, there's this gatekeeping issue that, this is my knowledge, I want to transmit it, but it's because I'm the person in charge and you just have to follow. And I think it's really sad. Like, just, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know things and I'm still learning. That's part of the journey, and I'm not afraid saying, I don't know shit about this or about that. Please talk to me, learn about this. But there's always this thing, like, very shadowing and... Yeah,
it's not you who should be ashamed of not knowing.
No,
it's people who should be ashamed not to show you. Sad, but it will change. I really hope it will change.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bit of a sloppy transition, but let's go for the track that Catalina chose for us today. It's a track from Yoshimitsu called on the label Astral Black. Was released in 2021. She's going to tell us a bit more about it later, but let's first listen to this banger. Selmz just said that she liked this one. So, Catalina, why did you pick this one for us today? What does it mean for you, and how does it resonate with the theme of today?
So it's Josie Mitsu. She's a female producer based in the UK, and she definitely has this bassy leaning sound. And I like this song because I think it's very rhythmic, it's very fun. But at the same time, I think it's very simple, and it showcases how bass music is kind of dependent on such simple elements combined in such a sonically interesting way. And there's so much diversity in simplicity. And I just really, really like Josie Mitsu. I think she's a really good DJ. I think she has an amazing brand identity, and she created her whole world. Do you have something you want to say?
The track is called Ö, like the Scandinavian letter, the O with the little.
Yeah, I called it O for the
Yeah.
whole time, so I'm happy that you
I have a
clarified.
relationship with Scandinavia, so I learned recently that it was Ö. So Josie Mitsu, Ö, check it out. Do you want to?
No, I just wanted to say I like Josie's work as well, and also Blue Mitsu with Bluetooth. So, voilà.
Dig all that after this show or during this show. It's good to listen to music at the same time as the feedback of a very inspiring artist from Brussels. And talking about inspiration, I wanted to give a shout out to a former colleague of mine who launched a collective a couple of years ago called Psit Psit Mademoiselle. Basically, this collective is made to represent all the marginalized voices within the scene, and they created a database of marginalized genders. Initially, it was intended to be something for internal use, for them to have a database of people that they could collaborate with. But at the end of the day, like, it's helpful for everyone. For venues, for clubs, for collectives, just to know who is out there. And basically in this database, there's DJs, there's producers, there's live artists, there's scenographers, there's technicians, safety teams, collectives, everyone that composes this scene. So if your excuse is to say, like, I don't know who's around, there are tools, as Catalina said. You go in the internet and you find this kind of stuff. So it's Psit Psit Mademoiselle, check it out. Do you feel that there's enough initiatives like this? And if they're not, and you know some, could you share some for us, for everyone to be a bit more aware that knowledge is shareable and is findable as well?
I just want to say back to the point that we were talking about before about people who kind of have thankless jobs. I actually had no idea that the database included people who work behind the scenes. And of course, it's easy to find DJs who are of different diverse profiles because people are visible, but the people behind the scenes are not. So something like this is very interesting. And in terms of opportunities, honestly, I've been a bit out of the loop, so I can't comment. But I do want to say that one thing I think is missing in Brussels is the open deck concept. And I think 96 movement, they do a lot of this, giving people the chance. And, you know, sometimes even before a party, people who organize the parties are there, people who work at the bar. And even if you just hear, hey, your mix was good, hey, I liked your selection, that can be so empowering and, again, takes away from the pressure that builds up when you have your first gig and you say, okay, this is my first gig. I will never get a gig again until I do a really good job. And they will never book a woman again if I don't do a good job. So, yeah.
But if it's made for that, it's easier for everyone
Absolutely.
to step there.
Yeah.
Do you also have ideas in mind, or just maybe shout out to stuff that should
Both.
be more?
Well, obviously Radio Vacarme. I think they're doing an amazing job for so many years now. Honestly, for me, it's not even courage at this point. I think this is really a lutte, and they're doing it super well. They just opened their local in Saint-Gilles. I'm super happy with that. And also, they're always thriving to give some space to minorities and non-male artists. And yeah, I think it's a reference point. But we have also Chaos Village. This is a collective that booked me in December. And I never been that well welcomed in my life as a DJ. So yeah, I think we still have work to do here, but you can also find your tribe quite easily here.
So shout out to all these initiatives that are moving, that are helping the things to move forward. But at the end of the day, it's a question that it might be a bit difficult to answer, but I will be very happy to have your feedback. Is the solution only to have like female artists that curate events, or just only Flinta plus exclusive lineups to rebalance things up? Does it sound a little bit fatalistic that women have to make women and non-male people shine? Can it not be just like everyone to be a bit more inclusive at the end? Like, how do you feel about this?
Well, for seeing a lot of Flinta events or non-male focused events, I think it's obviously the first step to do in order for us to feel safer, and also to encourage artists that really want to be playing in that space and not, we'll say, the general ones. So it's obviously the first step. After that, it's quite difficult because I think every entity has the right to redefine their own way of making the scenes their own. But I was thinking maybe every community radio that we know here, or maybe in Netherlands or around, maybe they can dedicate a day for minorities. Just one day, no matter if a big artist is playing there. No, this is our day. Let's play from, I don't know, to noon to 10, and this is only us. I don't know, honestly. It's a very broad question.
The space is there. So
yeah, of course. At least it's ours for a day. You know, it's like the International Women's Day. We have our day. It shouldn't be one day. It should be the whole year and the whole time. But I think in the music community, we should have a moment in the month or in the week or whatever, where it's only us and by us.
It's very interesting because it also echoes with, unfortunately, what's happening around the world, that all this concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion is being tackled down. Do you think that imposing a little bit like manifestos to collectives, to venues, to radios, to make sure that they have at least an amount of people that are enough represented in their general roster, do you think that this is a good solution, like this kind of like imposed manifestos, or themselves even just like saying like, okay, in 2025 or in 2026, I sign that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, there are gonna be like this amount at least of people that are coming from gender minorities or ethnic minorities or yeah.
Well, again, that's a first step. That's a first step. It's quite recent. I'm a bit surprised because for me, it should be the norm. It shouldn't be something politically thought. It should be the norm. And yeah, I think we could reinforce those charts. But yeah, it's true. It's a first step, but we really need to develop on that point. I don't know if you have something to say regarding this.
Yes, I do. So we were talking a few days ago about Civias. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but they do these yearly reports and they show how many women versus men and then non-binary people are involved in both artistic presence, but also behind the scenes. And I think even less than 1 in 5 party concepts and festivals is programmed by women. And
the stats.
You know, I think in an ideal world, we would live in a place where it would be all about the music. People love to say it's all about the music when they do something controversial. But I think it's all about the music can be an aspirational thing, you know. I think imposing a diversity quota is interesting because other industries do it. And they're better off for it. And I think music has such a message that it just kind of enriches the experience, and for sure. And also as a DJ, think about it. If the lineup is 10 white guys, say, maybe I don't want to play here. I'm also going to have a bad time if I play here, maybe.
Like stand up, speak up about it, and realize who you're playing for. It's also like our own conscience, you know, to know what you're doing. And it was one of my questions, but I think it goes also together with that. It's like, what can the audience do to support more females, to support more like things, to be more inclusive?
Don't spend money on things that are shitty, period. No, just like stay home. Do not go to parties where the lineup sucks. I'm sorry if your friends are going, you vote with your wallets, period.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. No, it's fine. And also, I think, just don't give your money to people that don't need it. They have it in the first place. So just give your support and your money to people that lack of it or need your support. We don't need to fulfill them; they're already filled. So that's how I wanted to say, and yeah.
I just also wanted to say that instead of going to a bad party, you can also invest in yourself, and that gives you a little bit of a leg up. So it's instead of spending 50 euros to go to a party where you see 10 guys playing the same thing over and over again for the whole night, buy an album, get inspired. It's wonderful.
That's love. No, that's lovely. And honestly, I would have loved to spend way more time on this subject, but we just have 3 minutes left, so I'm just gonna give the shout outs. You had another song, but maybe we close with yours from Pearson Sound.
Pearson
Just
Sound.
tell us a little bit more about it. Then I'm gonna say the usual closing, and we're gonna play this. But tell us a bit more. It's Pearson Sounds Blanked.
Yeah, I used to teach DJing when I was in university, and I actually had a lot of young girls who were 18 years old who wanted to learn to DJ, and one of them played this song, and I was like, what is that? I think it was during the house DJ era, and I was like, damn, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And again, it's such a simple song. If you really listen to it, bass, drums, a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of melody. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. You will listen to it right after. It's amazing, as Catalina said. But first of all, I would like to thank you for listening to this hour with Catalina and Selmz. This was Organic Serendipity. You can find it on YouTube, on the Instagram of GIMIC as well. And remember, always keep an eye open and an attentive ear to what's going on in the scene and around. It was Organic Serendipity. Thank you very, very much.